In this lesson, we're going to be learning Finish What You Started by Van Halen. Pretty challenging tune, really. It's really revolves mainly around just two chords, E and A. And then there is a pre-chorus that has B, A, C sharp minor, and D. But the verse and chorus are basically the same thing for the most part. But it revolves around this lick that you heard me playing in the intro there. Mainly that lick is played a lot. And that can be tricky. And I'm using a hybrid picking method. So I'm picking with my fingers and my pick. And that's key in this. And to get that kind of snappy sound that he's getting, we got to pluck with our fingers. And tone-wise, I'm using a Strat, and I'm using the bridge and middle pickup combined for this. I toyed with the neck and middle pickup too. That sounds good too, but I think this is pretty twangy sounding, so I went with the neck. The bridge and the middle pickup for the tone. And that's pretty much it. Let's just get right into it. So it starts. Well, let me go back. Every bar is different, really. So you could drive yourself crazy trying to play this exactly note for note. So I'm going to give you some ideas of what to do. It's all tabbed out. The intro and the first verse, I tabbed out pretty much exactly like he does it. And after that, it's pretty much the same thing. It varies. Just listen to it. It varies when he's hitting the chords on the offbeats and stuff and all that. And it would take a really long time to learn it note for note. But you can totally get the vibe by listening and learning mainly the lick. And when you perform it, nobody's going to know the difference. There's a couple key licks in there that we're definitely going to hit dead on. And other than that, we're gonna kind of just go with it. So the main lick. So it starts with this triplet. It's really fast. Open D, hammer on 2, hammer on 5 on the D string. So I just practiced doing that for a little bit. Then it goes 2 on the G string, then 4 on the G string, then back to the 5 on the D, and then back to the 2 on the D. So I'm picking the D string with my pick, and I'm plucking with my middle finger the G string. That's what gives you that kind of twangy sound. And then we're going to go to, he's basically playing the 4th fret G and the open B and E string. And this is just, it's implying an E major chord. And if you listen to the acoustic guitar underneath it, that's what they're playing, E into A. Okay, so we have, now that I'm picking the G with my pick and the B and E strings with my fingers. Second and third finger. Okay, so we have. Then I'm going to put my first finger down and play the 3rd fret of the B with the 4th fret of the G and the open E. Then we do the lick again. This time, open G and B, and then 2, 2nd fret G and B. That's implying an A major chord. And then we're going to put our second finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, implying an A sus4 chord. So I'm picking G, B, and E strings. So we have now, that's the main thing. Now, he varies that every bar. So he might do that sometimes. He might do that sometimes. He might let him ring out more. So you have to just listen to the record and you'll kind of pick up on some of these rhythms, but to go over each and every bar, the lesson would be 2 hours long. And you would drive yourself crazy, because what you really want here is just to get the vibe down so it sounds like the tune. And this will get you there. So that's the first part. Okay, he does that. I want to talk about that lick. Somewhere in there in the intro, he does that. So all he's doing now is making that A major chord an A7 chord by, so we're on the E. So now you're slightly bending the 2 on the B and the 3 on the high E string. He just plays a set of two sets of 2/8 notes. Like that. Like that. Then you're back to the E. Now, sometimes on the E, he plays around with this note. Well, it's an E again. The 5th fret on the B string. Back and forth. So you can add that in there too. Okay, so that pretty much covers the intro and the verse. Although there is a lick going into the verse that I want to talk about where he goes, see, we're on the E. This is the lick right before the verse. When you go to the A, and right there you're into the verse. So what that is we do our normal A thing with the open strings. Then we do 2 and 3. Then we do our A7 thing, 2 and 3 here. So you do 2 of them, 2/8 notes. Then you do 2 more. And then open E and B, and then 2 more. And then you're back to the E. Okay, so it's like that. And that leads you in to the verse. Now the verse material, pretty much the same as the intro, that kind of thing, all the way through. But there's something that we need to cover right before. No, it's coming out of the pre-chorus. So you play that E to A thing, that riff, all through the verse. He might be a little more sparingly hitting the chords there. You'd have to listen to it. Might let it ring out a little more to give room for the vocal. But you're going to come out of that into the pre-chorus. So we go, this is say the last time around the chord changes. You do the lick, and and then we go to B, and he's just playing the fifth. Like if you have a B major chord, he's just playing the fifth and the root here on the G. So you're just borrowing the fourth fret of the D and G strings. And you're gonna go. So it's 4 and 2s. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he does the lick again. Then he goes to A. Now we're on the A chord, and he's gonna go bar, second fret on the D and G string, and then you're gonna lift and play 2 on the D and open G. Same rhythm as on the B. So we have. Okay, now we have another lick. So it's open A, slide from second fret to fourth fret, grab the second fret on the D string, slide back from the fourth to the 2, then hit open A. Then we go to 6. Now here's where we have the C sharp minor chord. You're going to play the 6s on the D and G string. Same rhythm. Then you're going to do another lick. So that's 2 on the D string. Then a hammer on from 2 to 4 on the A string. Back to the 2. Then back to 2 and 4 on the A string. Now you're going to hit a D5 chord. So that's open D, second fret G, third fret B. Then this little bass walk down. 3, 2, open, back to D. Okay, so let me go over that whole, I'm going to play that whole chorus slow, coming out of the verse. So there's your pre-chorus, okay? Now, right after that, he does this lick going into the chorus. It starts the same way that normal lick does. When you get to the 2, we're just going to hit 2 and 3, G and B strings. Slight bend on the second one. And then we're on our E, and that's the start of the chorus. Okay, so it's... So we have. Then you have the same kind of thing that you do in the verse there for the chorus. Okay, so let's look at that, make sure we're not missing anything. So coming out of the chorus, we have another kind of little lick back into the second verse. Okay, let's see. So we have coming out of the chorus. So this is the chorus, say. So, sorry, I missed it again. That's the lick. So the A7, then the 2 and 3, A sus4, both with slight bends. And then we're back into verse 2. Now, the second time, there's a different fill. You just hang out on this, on the A sus4, going into the solo section. It says there on the tab, second time with fill 2. There's 2 bars at the end of the tab, after the end of the song, that has 2 different fills that are on the second times around. Okay, so let's see what else we got. Okay, so before we get to the solo section, which we're just going to cover the chords on the solo, we're not going to go over the actual solo in this lesson, although it is tabbed out if you want to tackle it. It's pretty challenging. And if anybody wants me to do a lesson on the solo, please request it. I've tabbed it, but we're not going to cover it in this lesson, so it would just take a long time. But if somebody wants it, please request it. Let's see. At the end, there's another fill that goes, I believe, at the end of the verse, maybe? Yes. Before the second chorus, there's a different fill. So instead of going, and that's what it was. So instead of going into like we did going into the first chorus, going into the second chorus, it's like that. So it's just that A7 thing. Okay, so the only thing we need to cover now are the chords in the solo. So the solo is F sharp, it kind of switches keys. F sharp, and then we're back to that. Okay, so it's F sharp power chord, then you go G, D, A, F sharp, G, D, F sharp, G, D, A, F sharp, then it's G, D, then B. Just a bar of eighth notes of B. And then we're back to the. So after that, it pretty much just vamps on that riff there, just like you would in the intro pretty much, and then it just kind of fades out. So that's all the parts. So there's really not a lot of parts. It's just that lick's tricky, and then just kind of figuring out what you want to do in between that riff with the chords and the syncopated rhythms that he does. So just, listen to it a lot. Listen to it a few times, 2-3 times, and then you'll start to pick up on these different rhythms that he's doing and when he's accenting those chords and playing them. And you'll kind of get a feel for what fits and what doesn't. So it's really fun to play once you get it. So get that lick down, that's really half the battle. So there you have it. That's Finish What You Started by Van Halen.